Welcome back to F1 Manager 2024 at the end of the 2025 season when it all changes. 2026 brings a huge regulation change which is reflected in the game, along with some more cosmetic changes that I'm going to have to implement myself. If you watch other F1 Manager content, then you've probably seen other people do this already. I apologise, I'm slow. Without further ado, let's click through December. Effectively, I'm just going to be clicking through December. There's not really a lot to do here. And then pop in a couple of saves on the rather appropriately dated for the research there, 30th. So I'll put a couple of saves in there. I'll make the alterations I need to make in order to go through the end of season stuff. And then I'll make further alterations on the other side, if I need to. Calendar, probably, most likely. Laura Mackey's actually congratulated for beating RB. So last research is in, and that should sort me out until I need to go back and do the calendar changes. Let's click continue. Huzzah! End of season sponsor review. We've done that. We also got the long-term achievement, actual Steam achievement there, so I'd forgotten about that, but somehow our marketability's gone down by one. But absolutely smashed the living daylights out of that. Like, it's worth saying, if it wasn't for that weird bug, of course, with the race day achievements here, race day targets, the financial situation would still be appalling, even with me putting in the prize money artificially afterwards. I've done that now as well. We're up to 54 million, which I'll put straight into facilities / working out a driver for 2027. But if it wasn't for basically beating our race target objectives by 36 million over the course of the year, we still wouldn't have enough money to fend off the debt. 6.9 million, nice, kind of, for being fifth in that. Randeep's low mentality for some reason. High confidence from the board though, which I think is maybe worth something. Weather Center upgrades on the changeover. Mick gets 6 points and 16th. Zane gets 9th and 94. That, not great viewing for Mick. Exactly 100 points for us, of course. And we get to 3 full stars for next year. We actually got points in 17 of races out of the 24 total. We now have 1 heritage point. Our constructor points goes up quite a lot and our drivers go up by 6. The overall team rating's up by a fair amount. Might be by my head. I might have to remember to delete my face temporarily. But our team principal rating's gone up by 200. And we do get 1.5 million for high ball confidence. It's weird that's kind of only worth like 3 million over the course of the year. And there's the regulation changes, of course. Big swaths of changes to every single piece, and especially the front wing. And the stupid money changes, which for us being in 6th, changes nothing. I don't know if that actually even comes into play for the season technically next. I don't know if we still get the old allocations. I should say, by the way, whilst I obviously give myself the prize money that we should have had, that doesn't seem to actually work, and I will pay attention to see if it actually comes in season 3, if that's one of the things they fixed since starting season 2, and therefore it won't have retconned in for season 2 when they did that. Decided in the end that if the AI aren't getting the prize money either, then refurbishing their facilities probably covers that. So I actually just straight up refunded them for any extra engine parts that they gained over the course of the year in the same manner that I do. The majority of them have got, realistically, actually only about 7 million back, 6 or 7 million back, because nobody used an extra engine apart from us. I don't know how they managed that, but well done them. Also, going forward, the database editor has an option in the save file to now activate AI refurbishing their own facilities. So I've turned that on and I'm going to see if it actually works. If that actually works, then all I need to do is just refund them money. Long-term objectives is still just score points in 50%, but they do want us to get 5th. But we will click switch team and we'll maintain this because I think now with the fixes, I don't think it matters which one you actually hit in regards to your own targets and the driver changes. They should be locked in now because they can no longer poach them on December the 31st. So I think it's fine to, because I always feel like switch team makes it feels like you're rejoining your own team again, and I don't know if that actually affects the way people view you in the game. But we'll do the old classic. We'll hover over us. By the way, in case you're wondering about the sponsors on our car and driver suit, it's because I've changed the sponsor package to one that includes the Audi logo because we'll be taking an Audi engine next year. So that's why these are all changed. But we will go in order of championship. You've already probably noticed one of the changes, actually, if my face isn't in the way of their logo. Oscar Piastri, world champion, stays at his team, of course. There's the new McLaren livery as well, for good measure. And Daniel Ricciardo retains his seat at McLaren. I think he might have been on a 1-year deal, so the fact he has stayed there, interesting. I don't know if he was on a 1 or 2 year deal. However, they do keep their lineup. That's Lance Stroll in the Red Bull. And that's the new Red Bull livery. Red Bull Ford, of course. Okay, so it's Lance Stroll alongside Carlos Sainz. Carlos Sainz was the second driver, I think, originally. That's actually technically not changed. They've actually just maybe improved their second driver as a result of that, actually thinking about it, because he's probably rated higher than Hadjar was. But Lance Stroll as the second driver at Red Bull, technically, is quite fun. Red Bull Ford now, of course. In 2026, Mercedes keep George Russell. He's on a very long-term contract. That's not a surprise. Same livery as they had last year. I've not changed that one. And that's the one I knew. Yeah, I got spoiled on Lewis Hamilton going back to Mercedes after 1 year at Williams. It's the nope, screw that. I'm going back to Mercedes. Yeah. So that's a little odd. And of course, he's back as second driver again because George is first and Lewis was second in the game because of the yellow handlebar. I don't know what you call it. Camera bar, I think it is. Ferrari is Charles Leclerc, and Hauger was second driver last year. Second driver this year, that's Max Verstappen. That was the other one I knew because they were obviously at the top of the list. I did see them before I realised you could see them. So they're the two that I saw and remembered. I probably saw more and have forgotten them since, but they were the two driver moves I knew about. Lewis Hamilton back to Mercedes and Max Verstappen from Mercedes to Ferrari. Leclerc and Verstappen. It's a horrifying concept, really. But from here, I don't know. Same livery as they had last year as well, by the way, for Ferrari. Aston Martin, of course, become Aston Martin Honda in 2026. And the database editor does allow me to add a fifth engine to the database. I don't think it allows you to select it, but I'll be able to give it to teams accordingly once the season starts, I think. That'll be something for me to sort out when I'm doing the calendar as well. But the last team that finished actually ahead of us in the championship, Aston Martin Honda, there's the Honda livery. You may have seen it in other people's saves already. The 2026 car is staying with Bottas and Drogovic. We stay with Mick and Zayn Maloney, of course, so no need to look at them. RB is still Yuki Tsunoda. They're still RB. I've not changed anything about them. I don't know if they even have a new livery in-game that isn't a change. That's still Albon as well. Haas, of course. Haas are now Toyota. Keep Teo Pourchaire. There's a new Toyota livery as well. And keep Nico Hulkenberg. Not a lot of changes, but a couple of big ones, obviously. And then the one that you probably have noticed, weirdly still hovers over green, but everything else does work with their new Audi colour. But Audi, of course, replaced Kick Sauber. Still Logan Sargent. And still Pierre Gasly. Alpine had Paul Aron and Lando Norris last year, so that could still be Paul Aron. Lando's not in either seat, so one of those could still be Paul Aron. Neither of those are still Paul Aron. They are Frederick Vesti, and Dennis Hauger has gone to Alpine after being punted out of the Ferrari seat by Max Verstappen. Same livery as they had last year, but I think something tweaked. I've got a new updated version of it, so something's been tweaked on it. And lastly, Williams. That's still Kevin Magnussen. Someone has to replace Lewis Hamilton here, of course. Same Williams livery as well. I think they don't seem that's unchanged still because I'm not really a big fan of any that I saw. That's a faceless driver. Okay, we have to find out who that is. It's Enzo Fittipaldi, who of course was punted out of the Red Bull. So technically the two best rookies on the grid have at least found new homes at the bottom end of the grid in Alpine and Williams in Hauger and Fittipaldi. Interesting. But of course we'll select our own team. We'll go through all of this. We'll save it afterwards. We'll double check. Interestingly, it says starting balance 33 million. It's already taken 20 million off. This is the you got to pay attention to. Strictly speaking, it actually does take about 32 million off you, but you do get, in theory, prize money in at this stage. So actually, this is a good starting point to work out if we're actually getting money back in from there. So minus 33.7, minus 12. So it's minus 21. That's accurate at this stage. So prize money might actually work now. I didn't do well on mitigating research, if I'm honest, because I didn't have the money all the time to do it. So we actually get 45 million this year. We retained the fastest lap, which of course was an option. I was actually really hoping... So this still says Renault. Now in the back engine, there was an option. I found the section that had the engine names on it. So I was hoping changing those engine names would change what it says here. It doesn't, unfortunately. But you may notice that the attributes are different to what they were last season. That's because there is a fifth one, of course, in there. And I'm also trying to reflect. So Renault has become Audi behind the scenes, and Red Bull has become... That engine durability is broken for some reason. That says minus 75. I don't know why. We'll have to sort that one out. That should not be minus... I don't know what that says at minus 75. Honda, you can't see actual Honda rather than Honda Red Bull powertrain there, which is now technically Ford Red Bull powertrain. Honda has the best in-class ERS durability. That's kind of their strong suit, I think, realistically, and they have the second best fuel efficiency in the game, but the worst power. they now have the 80 power. Audi go up to 85 power, still maintain the best fuel efficiency, but the durability isn't super great apart from gearbox. Meanwhile, Mercedes remain to be kind of the jack of all trades one. Ferrari, I believe, are actually completely unchanged. I think their fuel efficiency has been tweaked just to factor in Honda. And Red Bull Ford should have terrible engine durability, but not minus 75. I don't know what's happened there. So we're going to stick with Renault, which is Audi. So we will negotiate our sponsor, which we now have 3-star sponsors, actually. So Bosch will be the performance-related one. You can see the old versions underneath. So Bosch has a preference for VIP activities. DHL would have a preference for staff. And Bosch has a preference for driver activities. Now, I think VIP is facility, staff is staff, obviously, and drivers is drivers. So you want to avoid that one, because if that puts in mandatory driver activities, then that's something you kind of don't want to deal with. So DHL is less upfront, but it's more in engagement. Total funding is marginally higher if you meet it. With that, performance reliance is moderate when it's exactly the same race day. I think realistically, for the sake of 1.8 million, I'm going to go with Bosch. So you can still see the original names there, because I have to keep that. There's no name pack on this sponsor pack, and even if there was one, I had to take it out to make sure Audi got rewritten. So we have a few 2-star sponsors in here now. Cisco still exists. As much as I would love more up front, a mandatory, it's only 3.8 off that, which is odd. Or I could get 9.5 off race day if I do this Tissot. So I think that's the arrangement. And welcome to your 2026 car and driver suit. I'm not 100% sure on the Fanatec, but I do quite like the Fanatec basic version, which is just white on black kind of plonked on there. Got it on there as well, and there's the silhouette version on the side. So unfortunately, I did have to replace Bosch with CrowdStrike as effectively our visual main sponsor, because CrowdStrike was one of the few logos that didn't have artifacts. You sort of remember last year when we had those kind of weird pale lines on the car because of the silhouettes and having artifacts. Bosch had a really bad one, which was just a huge block to the right. So I couldn't do anything about that. So I've replaced them with CrowdStrike, which didn't have anything. I should say the livery as well. I've gone for a deeper, more just pure green version because of Aston Martin's Honda adoption and the whitening of their car in places. Like huge portions of their car are now block white. I figured if that allows us to move into the more green version as a result, because now we'll be able to tell them apart much better. And our car is terrible. I've just noticed that. I knew it wasn't going to be great because we didn't get to do much research, but that's bad. Our DRS effectiveness is still pretty solid. I've set the first car pieces on the go, design-wise, and I've also changed the calendar. Turns out using the F1 setup save browser, you can actually change not only just the order of the race weekends, but the exact weekend they fall on. So they can be the exact weekend they will be in 2025, replicated for 2026. So last season, they just swapped over the races into the slots that they were in previously, weekend-wise. This time, I have the exact weekends they were falling on in 2025, in 2026. So there's technically a slight alteration in that respect in terms of gaps and what have you between races. And I've also changed the sprint weekends. I've removed China and Miami and Qatar from sprint weekends. And I've only added, took Kota out as well. The only ones that remain, in fact, are Sao Paulo. And technically it's a return to Austria because it is a sprint weekend in 2024, but it isn't in 2025. So we're back at sprinting there. We keep Sao Paulo sprint because I always enjoy that one. But we will be sprinting at Spa, Austria, and Imola, along with Bahrain, which of course will be the 4th race of the season once again. So technically we have the most accurate calendar we've ever had in F1 Manager. Just mean Melbourne is in 71 days. So plenty of time to build pieces. Oh, we can actually complete the chassis 10 days early for 500k. Yes, please. I feel like we definitely got the money in this time around. That's 66 million. Just realised that. The 2020 season officially listed as Lance Stroll is 81 rated because he's had timeout and therefore regressed. I think I might see if I can swap the cars around before we get going as well, but I'm happy to leave them as is, frankly. There's plenty of pairings where the second driver is better than the first. Both George and Lewis are rated 87 now. But the F2, of course, we do have development drivers, so it's worthwhile checking to see where they've landed, potentially. Bogdanovic and Carpentier remain at Dams Lucas Oil in F2. That Trider lineup is still ridiculous. Straight speaking, of course, Kimi shouldn't be in that, because he should have been promoted to as champion out of it. I'm mildly annoyed Bianca Bustamante has not gone into F3. Our two F3 drivers that were there previously remain there. I've been scammed. I've genuinely been scammed here. We paid for that to come in 10 days early. It's coming in 10 days later. Okay, so an embarrassing amount of time it took to work out and find a problem. I kept crashing on race weekend. We kept getting to race weekend and it kept crashing. I found out what the problem was. It was because I tried to make Audi the base manufacturer for the Renault engine in the game, which of course we're treating as the Audi engine from now on. Turned out there was a few more variables that I had to switch over to Audi as the team ID to make sure they didn't clash with the old Renault. It was trying to load the same engine for two different vehicles at the same time, and that obviously wasn't going to work. But I found them all, I've routed them all out, I've changed them all, so now it all works perfectly fine, and Alpine are free to choose an engine manufacturer as they would so desire, and they have indeed, weirdly actually, chosen the one I was going to mandatory give them for this season, because the rumour was they were going to take on the Red Bull engine. They picked the Red Bull engine, so they need to do anything. Now to turn the attention to our car. The performance at the top is obviously still not factoring in any weight reductions, so we'll bear that in mind. We're now very good at high speed, which is good, because so is Australia. Our DRS is superb, which is great, because it's Australia. Everything else is not great. Our top speed is 15th, but if you look at the bar, it's not far off the average. Our low and medium, not great. Our dirty air, engine cooling, not great. And our tyre preservation, not great either. But we do have suspension in the manufacturer. It is the manufacturing that's held us back actually on this front because we only have 3 spots and we were developing 4 things. So we are now doing front wing and side pods as well, with the new ATR window being open. They'll come in accordingly. So there we go. We can finally actually be at race day and do Australia. Our race targets are still 18th or higher. Our race targets are still 18th or higher. Can I go back? I didn't look at this before. Our car performance for Australia, because of our DRS, I think, more than anything, and our high-speed capabilities, it is second. You saw our car there. Overall, it's not superb. It's obviously very focused on DRS and high speed right now because of the parts we put on it. Our car is apparently second and third on the grid. It's weird that there's one car that's ahead of both of ours, and therefore its counterpart car isn't. So... few people didn't do dry times in practice 3, including the McLarens, and Carlos Sainz did his time on a medium, but that's decent. Managed to get our car part knowledge up as high as we possibly could, really. It is raining on the Saturday here, and that looks like it continues into the qualifying session itself, very much negating our good attributes realistically, DRS being a main one. There appears to be a dip in the schedule here. Now, this obviously is the Q1 session. It's 18 minutes. I think we can get out, do a lap, just bank. Actually, there's no real point doing the banker. Go on the intermediate later on. And in fact, I don't think anyone else is coming out. So we don't really get to watch anyone in their new liveries and all their glory just yet. So realistically, we need to come out, what was it, about 2 minutes out lap on the 16.0, because we basically want to hit 16.11. So this is our lap time. So realistically, we want to be starting our lap around 16.10. So that we get it in between 16.10 and 16.12. So we want to come out about 2 minutes before that, a minute and a half before that. So about 16.08 and a half. Or just at the back of this heck of a train, give them a bit of room just so we can catch them. Of course, our new race engineer there, Mark Slade, in charge of Maloney for this season. Porsche has binned it just as we're starting our lap. Watching the Toyota Haas here just drive off the track. I can't actually even see him anymore. I think he's there somewhere. So what's the track like when we return? 2.8. I'll keep those intermediates on. There's not really much point changing them. So I need to check immediately. Okay, so sort of stabilizing there for the rest of this session. So I need to get the driver out as soon as possible. I just want to see if anyone comes out straight away. Just because I don't want to get caught on the back of this train either. As useful as it is to get the time in according to the dampness of the track, it's also more important to get a good spot in the running order. In fact, some people have only just come out, which might cause problems. Right, so we'll watch Zayn this time around, and hopefully this lap will actually complete itself. As Zayn just avoids the McLaren that decided to leave the pits when it did. Mick will have to negotiate that McLaren, but an RB has to do it first, which might make his life easier. Or he's going to catch him exactly on the corner. I think Mick might call him exactly on the corner. Mick probably lost a lot of time there. So I don't think he's actually through him. Oh, he is through him. Okay. Yeah, I think it may have taken a while for Mick to get through that McLaren. I have no idea what a good lap time is here, of course, because we'll be one of the first ones to actually cross the line. Who's the first one to actually complete a lap here? It was Hauger in the Alpine to complete a lap of 1:27.3. Bottas beats that by 7/10. Zane next to go second. That's not bad for someone with poor adaptability. He's ahead of Tsunoda, crucially. Mick isn't. Yeah, Mick got absolutely bodied by that McLaren. Might just have enough time to go back in and out again, provided this rain level doesn't change too much. I'm concerned by the cars in the bottom and the cars that are still on track. I can see 18th Stroll, 21st Sargent, 17th Verstappen, Gasly as well, Magnussen. It's all the drivers in this bottom thing that haven't done a lap yet, which concerns me for Mick. So I am just going to send him out again. And that's why I was worried by the Gasly and Sargent in the Audis, because they were good in practice. Mick's in the bottom 5. He's not in the bottom 5. Well, 6 really. That was crucial to just pop Frederick Vestine Alpine out there at the very, very end. Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari, though, out. Carlos Sainz in the Red Bull, out. Lewis Hamilton in the Mercedes, out. Albon in the RB as well. 3 very top teams and 1 in our pack, really. All out. Then again, Audi, which does still get highlighted green, unfortunately, seemingly better. It's interesting the coloration here is the Audi colour, but then it still gets the green there and the green dot. We start moderate again. It's exactly the same situation. You want to go out in the middle somewhere. So send them out at 31-ish. I suspect we'll have the same situation where everyone comes out and we'll just try and tag onto the back of that train. It is funny how everyone else has exactly the same idea, though. So we said 31, so we just want to be on the back of this. In theory, this should be our only lap. The race is dry, do not forget, so we should be back to our full strength, essentially, for the actual race with our supreme DRS. And the good news is, everyone else is going to complete that lap first, so we'll have a good idea of where we stand. Well, I say good idea where we stand. That'll be effectively it. Plenty of time to get back in and do a second lap if we absolutely have to, but this is the driest it's going to be, if I'm not mistaken. Drogovic sets the early pace. There's a couple of drivers on top of each other there. Piastri takes over in Q2 pole, with teammate behind. Verstappen only 9th. Bottas behind his teammate in a rare occasion there. Tsunoda into 5th. Hulkenberg 10th. So it's just our drivers to go across the line. And in theory, this track gets wetter. Mick did the fastest first sector of anyone. Why has he come in? Oh, well, I'm so glad I caught that there, because Maloney was coming back in again for some stupid reason. I think it's the pit lane situation again. Mick can stay out, but we need to get Zane back in again and get him to do an actual lap. Mick goes 3rd. Now call the car in. Am I going to have to pay attention to this every single time now? I need to get him around as soon as possible. Actually, I think it might actually even be drier now than it was when Mick did his lap. Just checking he's not being called in this time round. And he got hindered. He got hindered in the first sector by Stroll, who literally just came out of the pits at the same time. So Maloney's going to be out. Not a lot I can do about that. Game decided to bring him in when he shouldn't do, and then he got hindered by an AI driver. So never mind, eh? Never mind. We've seen Lance Stroll back actually now, to be honest. We'll just get Mick a bank lap in on the wets just in case there's a red flag, and then it goes back into wet territory for whatever reason. Also make sure we cancel that call in as soon as we can, and make sure we do call the car in afterwards. So we see Mick do purples, even if it doesn't stick, but 3rd on the wets isn't bad. Slightly worried I left that a little bit too late, but we should be fine. Make sure he's not being called back in. That's good. Neither one came out. This is still a problem. Piastri and Drogovic, however, have done dry times. We do have to negotiate Drogovic. And I think he might be a problem, but realistically, worst we could be here is 5th, which is 1 place further back. It's where the AI get it right when it was the previous 2 sessions with the dip in rain levels, but they've got it wrong here. It's weird that the AI is selectively sensible. Around Mick goes, he's done 2 purples. Verstappen goes into 2nd. Mick has done 2 purple sectors. Russell's on track too. He's going to do a time. I know people haven't come out here, and one of them is the other McLaren, which I think is still possibly the fastest car. I don't know who the actual other fastest car is, considering we're meant to be 2nd and 3rd here. Russell goes on preliminary pole here, but Mick Schumacher has a terrible 3rd sector, seemingly. 2 purples, but his 3rd sector wasn't up to scratch. Only 4th, back to 4th. But within 2/10 of Russell, who's on pole here. And that's Mick. No offence to Mick, but that's, you know, our worst driver of the 2. The race, of course, is fully dry. Medium, medium, hard is seemingly the play here. 2 stops definitely the better. And that's definitely the way around you do it, because you obviously want to go onto hard late as possible. It's weird that actually going harder on the mediums is worse. Perhaps if I bring it back, we can sort of split the difference on the 2 mediums. Bear in mind, of course, we will burn these first mediums a little bit more. Whereas I quite like Maloney's already in because you can burn that there and then do that strategy. So a little bit awkward, of course, if there's a safety car, but he's coming from further back, so he's going to have to be a little bit more aggressive. Flipping heck, there's 14 laps of fuel out. As always, take half. This could be a very interesting Australian Grand Prix.
Well, it's great to have you with us, folks, as we settle in for the weekend's Grand Prix action. Mick Schumacher, a composed figure, approaching this one.
What a day for them, starting on the second row. Holding on to fourth will be a challenge in the race, though.
And the time has come. Let's go racing. Brace yourselves for the Australian Grand Prix. And it's lights out, and away we go.
It's wild that I can see Mick already. Starts fourth, stays fourth. No one challenging him, thankfully. The Aston's off the track. Everyone fanning out into turn 3, I think it is, as Mick goes up the inside. Oh, we still got ghosting issues. Mick goes up the inside of Max Verstappen. It seemed like that might have been fixed for a while. I didn't notice it in practice. It feels like we've taken a hell of a lot of fuel out. Absolutely crazy. The weather seems all over the place. It seems to be sunny and cloudy depending on where you are on the track. What a fascinating tableau that is. Of Mercedes, McLaren, our car, Mercedes, McLaren, and then another Ferrari. Man, I love to see that. The arrangement of vehicles at the front of this pack. Maloney has got up to 14th as he overtakes Fittipaldi. We watched one of these highlights. There we are. So that's Fittipaldi in the Williams now. I will say that the Haas and the Audi might be a little difficult to spot at a distance, but...
You are currently P14. The car in front of you is Nico.
Oh, it is. Sorry, yeah, that was Slade talking. And of course, Slade is the former Haas engineer. He'll have lines specific to Kevin and Nico. But Mick could not be more tucked up the back of George Russell if he tried, as DRS is active now. Our strength in high speed and that absurdly good DRS will come into play. It's Piastri who leads his own race, though. And with DRS active, Mick just sweeps around both. Good Lord. He's on a worse tyre compound, let's not forget. It only counts as the overtake for Piastri, weirdly, and the highlight. This is Red Bull 2023 levels of DRS. Of course, that only works when we're behind. Slade's very chatty. I suppose Ogle wasn't F2 engineer, so he probably didn't have too many lines. But yeah, at the end of the DRS, Zane gets another driver. Nice to watch the Audi from behind, though. So it looks like they have enough, obviously, on those soft tyres to keep up with Mick, which is a baffling sentence to be saying at this stage of the save. Mick is the only one on medium tyres in that front pack, actually. Although I think Stroll on medium tyres has caught the end of it. I actually watched that Red Bull briefly because it does look brighter with its Ford combination as Maloney gets another driver, this time former Ferrari driver Dennis Helger. What an array of new vehicles there, by the way. 4 in a row, effectively alongside ours. I love that showcase. The Alpine isn't a new livery, really. It's just tweaked, updated. It's the same livery. As Mick will get Russell back. I really don't want to watch this every time, but our DRS is blimey. It's Mick Schumacher. Of course, every overtake he actually makes brings him into peak confidence, which, you know what? Mick Schumacher, 91 accuracy. We'll take that, my friend. Taken back by Piastri, though. Now he's got Drogovic, it seems like. It's a very good showing from the two Audis, though. They are 7th and 9th. Logan Sargent can only dream of that in real life. Well, you have to dream of an actual drive first, but... there's a hard-running RB there. It's a great recovery drive from Zane so far. Slap 5 and he's already out just outside the points, chasing a hard-running RB. Is Tsunoda the only hard runner? He is. And weirdly, his tyres are the same as Maloney's. Mick was very close to dropping Ricciardo there. Actually, sorry, Ricciardo. Well, watch Maloney on Gasly, he got Tsunoda easily. That's not even with DRS, that's just our top speed. Flipping heck. Or maybe it was with DRS, you just can't really see it from the angle. But it's Mick Schumacher fighting the two homeboys as he kind of got put offline there, which is a bit unfortunate. He's going to fend Piastri off, though. Yeah, getting shoved off the track did not help Mick there, as Ricciardo just drove off. But, ooh, safety car deployed. We did start to recover fuel there. We're both past the pit box, though, which is the unfortunate thing. How are we doing for Mick? I think it's sensible for Mick. I think it's sensible for Zane. We'll stick to the strategy, essentially, but we'll just be a little bit more caution. Hamilton continues his liability streak. At the back of the grid already, on a soft tyre. Absolutely bins it, trying to chase Haas. Might be back at Mercedes, but his questionable driving is continuing. I don't know what's going on with the VTs, they're really low res. But everyone up to Bottas, I think, was already past the pit marker entry board, so works out really well for Gasly and the Audis. And thankfully our two drivers are far enough apart. Has Ricciardo caught the safety car? No, the safety car's still in the pit lane. So Mick in first. So there was space at the end of this medium, but it's going to be a bit more of a stretch to get him to the target lap. New season, of course, so our pit stops have been slightly undone again in terms of our total capability. I say that. We managed to do a 2.1. And we've come out 4th. We've lost a place somehow. But Maloney's gained a place. Bottas has an issue and he's come out 11th, 12th, in fact. So Mick's actually lost a place. One more round, it feels like. Yep, there we go. I'm not actually going to push fuel on the restart. I'll push the tyres for a lap, but yeah, this camera angle's got weirdly blurry as well, and I don't really know why. Off-board's kind of fine, but I'll have to have a look into that. Thankfully, we get Max straight away and shove him off the track. Thank you for getting us in the pit stops there. Immediately undone. Yeah, we can. That's a move that was needed. Oh, Max is actually on a hard now. Trying to keep Mick as competitive as possible. Now, don't forget Maloney is on the hards, as we have split our strategies here. So rebuild strategies here, as we do need to obviously change our tyre at some point, and it is perfectly viable. Bear in mind, we are running ahead of that. That should do us fine, lap 32. So we can either run long, and we do have a little bit of tyres to burn with Zane, I think, at the end of his new stint. So Mick now has DRS, though, on Ricciardo and Russell. Piastri can't keep up for some reason. Tell a lie. Immediately back in. We're heading towards pit window time, and we are recovering fuel now, again. But I think Maloney's actually in a really good spot here, because he's still 7th, and he's only on the hard tyre now. Just about dropping off the back of this front 6, though. But Mick is capable of getting past the front runners time and time again. We'll just get Maloney to burn these tyres. Mick came out 14th behind Leclerc, which wasn't great. I think we can actually push Zane an extra lap because he's got plenty of tyre spare. It's not Kev, but sure. Also said Kex in the text for some reason. It's a safety car. Good job I delayed his pit stop for a lap because he's coming in this lap. So this works out really well for Zane. We'll watch this highlight. It was Russell and Drogovic, I'm pretty certain.
Has to be said.
Oh, it's Russell into the... Oh, it's both Mercedes out. There goes Mick. I just reset Zane's pit stop just to make sure he does it because I wasn't certain if he'd do it. Great for Piastri, great for Stroll. I don't know what tyres they were on originally. This will get Mick some places back, but in fact, it'll get Mick a lot of places back because everyone's come in. Mick's back to 6th. It's not optimal. Obviously, people got gains on him in terms of Sargent for 7, but the gaps will close back in again because it's a safety car. So it brings him back into range to tackle people like Sargent. Oh, Sargent didn't pit, but he's on a hard tyre. I'm not sure why people are going to softs when Mick can only just about get a hard to the end from there. Safety car's ending immediately. What the hell? You can probably push fuel for a couple laps and then just come straight back off it again, but I've never seen that happen before. The safety car's immediately come in. So Mick's got a lot of work to do from there with a hard tyre, but he can get Sargent easily, so Mick's on for a 5th. But Maloney's in a really good spot for a podium, more even victory here. On to brand new mediums like the 2 in front of him. There's yellow flag immediately. Oh, that was Mick actually going wide. He didn't really go wide at all. If he's lost tyres for that, I'm going to be marginally annoyed. Yeah, it did take tyres off him. So with 11 laps to go, the fastest lap keeps changing hands, but Maloney has dropped what was Verstappen, but now Sainz behind. And I think he is edging closer to Stroll. So I might just deploy him through these last few corners, see if he can get him in that DRS spot by the detection point, and has done. I won't actually use ERS, sorry. I won't actually use ERS. I'll just let him use the DRS to close up to Stroll now. Aiming for a second as things stand there. Piastri has kind of driven away. I can push the fuel a little bit as well, just to bring it back later on. Mickey's holding on to Verstappen and Sainz, though, which is basically all we can ask for with him. His tyres, of course, also on course to get to the end. Obviously, the capability of these tyres will change as things go. Maloney does get Stroll. I didn't think he would actually pass him. He goes around the outside with the excellent deal. Blimey! He had confidence that he could make that corner there. Absolutely done Stroll in. What's the gap to Stroll? 8 tenths. He'll get DRS now, though, annoyingly. But if we can fend off Stroll and then build the gap up. Okay, Stroll is going to be more of a problem. We can't really shift him all that easily. We need to get another fortunate overtake, I think, on the Stroll to make that one work further forward. Mick's just happy to hold on. Our supreme DRS is only thing keeping Mick 6th right now. Oh, that was a bad time to rejoin that, as Mick gets shoved off the track. I don't need to rewatch that one, but we're back in that train again. Could be double points for the former Kicks Albert team. 8th and 10th as things stand. Could even be better. Sargent's on the tail of Leclerc in 9th. But this is where our hard tyres are coming into play, because their mediums are, performance-wise, not doing superbly. I need Maloney to get into DRS range. I think Stroll might be going for it. Mick's struggling to hold on. Does have DRS, though, which is going to deploy from here, Zane. Mick doesn't really have a lot in the bank, but you might as well use the remainder of that tyre. Burn that extra 0.1, Zane, as well, just for good measure. If you can get into DRS range, you might be able to get him, but that's about it. Get Mick to deploy from here. No point watching Zane. That's a good, comfortable 3rd, I think, but there's a good chance for Mick to get 6th here if he can do a double overtake. Oh, he's taken a poor line, and actually Bottas might get through instead. Nope. Mick's got 7th. He's folded in behind Verstappen. It's a good move by Mick in the end. Gasly 9th and 10th for Audi. Leclerc actually ended up 11th. Still, 7th is, if I'm not mistaken, the same amount of points he had for the entirety of last season. Maloney, however, that's a podium that we won't get to watch because he's a faceless driver. Well-timed safety car, I think, has benefited both Zane and Carlos, actually, there. As I say, already equal 2025's points tally has Mick and Audi get off the board with 2 drivers immediately. Mercedes bottom of all with 2 DNFs. Unbelievable. And yeah, Hamilton, not content with being a 0-pointer with Williams, decides to one-up it at Mercedes and somehow cause both cars to, I don't know how he would manipulate George to crash there, but not gone well, has it? Second and third pit stop wise will probably take us top there. 33 points, yes it does indeed. Second pit stops were both a bit slow. Oh yeah, Mick has 6th or higher in his contract, which thankfully we've dodged. I think it's only like 100k, I think it's fine. Zane doesn't have anything in his contract. Not a good race for our boys seemingly in F2, nor indeed any of our drivers in F3. Oh, tell light, no, Barnard was 4th. So this race actually now backs on to China this time round, so we'll do that along with Suzuka and the sprint race at Bahrain next time round. I will see you for that. Our first podium, tick. I have a feeling this is going to be a Brawn GP year. We're not really title hunting, but I think it's going to be a similar trajectory. I think we're going to start supremely well thanks to our good straight line speed. At China, let's not forget DRS as well there, and top speed. Not necessarily top speed, but high speed cornering. I suppose actually it's not really high speed cornering that's the thing at China, it's just top speed full stop. It might not be as strong. That reminds me, in fact immediately, it says 5th on the grid and 6th. 19th and 20th at China. Highly dependent on DRS, but we're first in Austria, apparently. That'll be the DRS heavy track then. And Monza 5th as well. High speed cornering. So, that being said, we won't get suspension in time either. So, it might be from glory, almost glory, to, well, actually, I suppose that is glory, 3rd, to pain in China. There is a small gap to Japan, which will see the design come in for the front wing, which we'll be able to manufacture 3 of for the race, realistically. So, we'll be able to put that on and have 2 suspensions to put on as well. So we might be able to run both the suspension and the front wing for Japan, certainly for the race that follows in Bahrain, the sprint. So join us for that next time out. Our early gains, hopefully, we can actually get as much of them on the car as quickly as possible. But if you enjoyed this first episode, the hilarious return of Lewis Hamilton to Mercedes, along with the move from Max Verstappen to Ferrari, some big name moves there, but not a huge amount change-wise. More cosmetic changes, realistically, but constructors, alterations, Audi on the field, and Audi scoring points early on as well. A new rival in our pack, perhaps. Realistically, the chasing pack from the front. I'll see you for that one next time round. Like, comment, subscribe if you've enjoyed this so far. Until then, ta-ra.